Well, hi there. My name is Erica, and I would like to welcome you to the first of four workshops to help you learn how to share your faith digitally. We're so glad you're here. Hope is powerful, and everyone is feeling a need for it. So, what better time to help people experience the lasting hope that Jesus offers? Digital connections are our new normal right now, and we have some proven resources to help you share the love of Christ with others digitally. Let's dive right in. Today, we are going to hear from Chuck, who serves with the Jesus Film and coaches people in ministry in Latin America and the Caribbean and a few other places. So, without further ado, welcome, Chuck.
Thank you, Erica. It's an honor to be here to be able to share this great resource with people, especially in this time where it seems like the world feels upside down. We feel secluded, and yet the gospel's never secluded. And our Lord promised us that the gates of hell will not prevail, and this is no different. We will prevail. We will continue to just work for our Lord, sharing the gospel. And at Jesus Film, we have amazing resources to be able to do that. One of the things that we say at Jesus Film is that seeing is believing. And I would normally ask this face to face, but being that we're virtual, I won't ask for hands. But I'm sure many of you have heard of the Jesus Film Project. And at the Jesus Film Project, we have a feature film called Jesus, and we have that done, dubbed in over 1,800 languages. And I know that sounds like a lot, but most people don't realize there's over 7,000 languages in the world, so we still have a lot of work to do. So as one of the things that we have with the film are segments. We also have short films, and we show short films in order to create spiritual conversations. I have done many of these many presentations, but never virtually. So this is going to be fun. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that this is something that has never changed. When Christ told us to go out and share the gospel, making disciples of all nations, it's always started off with the believer. That would be you. And you and I, as believers, are already connected to God. And so what we need to do is connect with others. And one of the ways that we like to connect with others to start spiritual conversations is through short films. And so our main goal is to not after we connect with others is to connect other people with the Lord. So we have a film that I want to show, and if we could go to the next slide, I want to kind of just share just a brief story about this. That I used this film live a few times in Ecuador recently. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really thinking that this would accomplish much, but the Lord showed me something different. When we were in Ecuador, we went and shared this film in a park in Quito. And I was with a friend of mine from Peru, and this is the film he wanted to show. And so I'm like, well, okay, we'll try it. And to my delight, we led 4 people to the Lord with this little cute 1-minute video. And one of the things that we can do, even if we're not showing it face to face, we can do this virtually. And one of the things I want to show, and I want to use my beautiful wife as my model. This is Lori, everybody. I want to show what this can look like virtually. So we're going to do just a quick little dialogue as we intro into this video. Hope that's okay with you. So here we go. Just picture us texting back and forth. Okay. Hi, Lori. I just watched this short film from the organization I work for, and I thought you would like it. Do you have a minute to watch it?
Sure, I would love to.
Okay, let's watch it. So Lori, what did you think about the film?
I loved it. I didn't see the child smashing the cake, but it was really cute.
Exactly. Do you remember last week when I asked you what you thought about God?
Yes, I told you I wasn't into religion, but what does that have to do with this?
Well, it has everything to do with it, Lori. That's why I thought you would love this film. You see, Lori, being a Christian isn't about religion. It's like this film. God calls us his children, and you can see how that can lead to a further conversation. So I ask you, what did you get out of this? What emotions did that evoke? What do you see in that you could use to show other people how they can connect with the Lord? Go ahead and feel free to put your answers in a chat. And again, like Erica said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in chat. We have some of our amazing team online here that can answer your question. And at the end of this, we're going to go ahead and answer some questions live as well. So as we see in this heart level themes that God has ways of just accessing the emotions he puts in us, which can bridge a gap between just kind of maybe an awkward conversation and turn it into something meaningful and eternal. And that's really what we want to do with these short films. So I see that. Let me pull up my chat so that I can see. I'm really curious to see what you guys are saying. Jocko says, I love that little film. I feel joy and fun and satisfaction. Jeremy says, forgiveness and joy stood out to me. Shannon says, the film makes me feel like joy and fun. And feel like I am welcome as I am. And that is all so true. Like I said, when I first saw this, it didn't really resonate with me as how could I use this to share the gospel with people? Because I was thinking it needed to have some amazing deep meaning or theme. But then when I watched the people's faces as they watched it, the Lord showed me it's like, wow, people really want to know that God loves them even in their mess. And that's another way we can reach people through this film is we all have messy lives. We all have issues that we deal with. We all we struggle. And when this just short, cute little film shows this innocent little baby making a mess out of the hard work that his father created, it just resonates with people. And I was very happy to see that that this is a film that could be used. But this isn't the only film we have. We have several films. Let's go back. Let's go to the next slide real quick and go back to the triangle. Since the foundation of the church in the book of Acts and the giving of the Great Commission in Matthew, the formula for presenting the gospel hasn't changed. And like I said earlier, you already have the Spirit of the Lord in you. You are already commissioned as believers to share the gospel with the world, to win, build, and send, as it were. And as we're winning people, we need to build them up and disciple them. But we need to start somewhere, and that somewhere is with creating a connection. And so once you can make a connection, you see what I did in that little dialogue with Lori. I started off with somebody that I knew, and it doesn't always have to be someone you knew. Hopefully, you and your teams, or just you as individuals, might want to just go to a mall like we've done once we're able to get back out amongst the people. Go to a mall, go to a park, and share your faith. It's so much fun to see people's faces when they watch a short film. And then once you make that connection and that awkwardness goes away, you get to see how the Holy Spirit works in the hearts and minds of people. And so let's go on to the next slide. So once you make a connection with people, what do you do? Once you find out, see, when I reminded Lori of this conversation the other day, and she had made the comment to me, so I had a little bit of information about her, that she really wasn't into religion. And I was able to use this short film to show her that God is not about a religion, he's about a relationship. And that so often, and it did in Ecuador too, so often leads to just a conversation about, well, then what does God want from me? Or who is God? Or I've messed up and God can't forgive me. Once you get that conversation going, you can say something to them like, do you mind if we take a little bit more time? I'd like to show you some things. And again, right now, we have to do everything virtually, but one of these days you're going to be able to get back and be face to face with people. But right now, if when you look at the app, we have a button on there. It's the G on the right. You see the arrow right there? That G will take you to God Tools. And on God Tools, if you've never heard of it before, it's an amazing free download you can put on your phone. And on that tool is starts off with the 4 spiritual laws: knowing God personally, satisfied, teach me. You can also put the 4 on there. And if you see to the right there, it says find tools, so you can go to that one. You can also you can download other tools like the 4. You can change the language. You can have a go back and forth between your native language and maybe if you're talking to somebody in Latin America or somebody in China, someone in India, you can move it to Hindi or Spanish or Mandarin, and it would show everything on there in their language. And so it's just a really, really amazing tool. And so once you get to that point, you can open up the 4 spiritual laws, and just a second, I need to look down. Yeah, you can open up the 4 spiritual laws and then just share with them how they can know God personally, how they can just lead you right through a conversation. Is there any questions? I haven't really been following the chat because it's hard to multitask. But if you have any questions about that, again, feel free. We've got 2 amazing people on there that's ready to answer your questions, and they're there for you. Again, with the God Tools, if any of you are familiar with the 4 spiritual laws, it will take you through everything that if you've ever shared the gospel using the 4 spiritual laws with the pamphlet, it'll take you through. It'll help you to, you click it right into the next piece of it, to each one of the scriptures, to, after you go through the scriptures, you can go to the 2nd spiritual law. It'll take you through the scriptures all the way through the process of leading somebody to the Lord. It's just an amazing tool. So if we'll go to the next screen. This is another film that we have. It's just one of the many that we have on our app, and we'll talk about that later as we go through the app. But this here is a short film that really touches on the message of our liberty in Christ. Before we come to faith, we don't really realize that we're in bondage to things. We're in bondage to sin. We're in bondage to process. We can even be in bondage to religion if we don't know Christ. And this is a great little video that will help you to start a conversation with people to talk about how we have liberty in Christ and how Christ sets us free. Go ahead and start.
Liberté!
So that is a little bit deeper of a theme than our cute little delight video. And that's what I love about the Jesus Film short films, because you can go through them and find out which ones would be best for each situation. But in order to do that, you need to download the app. You need to download it. You need to go to the short film part, and then just watch them and find out which ones resonate with you and which ones resonate with other people. If we could go back a couple slides, for just a minute, I wanted to just discuss, and it's going to be hard because this is a monologue, not a dialogue, but feel free to, in the chat or the Q&As, put your comments. You would ask yourself, or if you were face to face with somebody in the conversation, you could say, "So, what did you think of the film?" But in this time of virtual and where we're not allowed to be around each other right now, or we're choosing not to, you can take these questions and you could text them to people. You could tell them, "So, what did you think of the film?" And get a response from them. You could ask them the heart theme question. So what themes did you pick up in this video that resonate with you? What does this video mean to you? So if they pick like a major theme that resonates with them, then that gives you an excellent open door to begin a conversation into some place that's where they're at. And that's really where you want to be. You want to get to a place where you're becoming a student of them. You're learning about them. You're trying to find out where their heart need, their felt need is, and then you can use the gospel to reach those needs, and that will lead to a deeper spiritual conversation and hopefully a decision to follow Christ. And on the app, I want to show you really quick. I have the La Liberté right now, and each one of our films are the same. You can, at the bottom of it, there's a series of questions. For instance, this one says, who gives the man his freedom? Once you get into this conversation better, you can use this. And as you're seeing the one on the screen, what did you like about this film? What did you dislike? Can you picture your parents delighting in you when you were young? What did you think that was like? And La Liberté, one of the questions is, what does it mean to truly be free? I mean, can you see how these types of pointed questions can lead you to a much deeper conversation, and to be able to, and when you get to that place, you have such a freedom to speak into their life. All because of just a little short film. We resonate with film. We resonate with stories. I mean, think about the way Jesus presented spiritual truths. He presented them through parables, stories that people could wrap their minds around, stories that people could relate to. Even so many of the parables, though they were spoken in a time 2,000 years ago, even now, the stories, we trigger emotions and trigger images in our minds that we can resonate with. So let's go on to the app. You've heard me talk about it. So you can download the Jesus Film app, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. Go to your app store and download it. It's Jesus Film app. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. It's real super easy. I'll show you how fast and simple it is to find it. Go in, type in Jesus Film, and it's right there, and that's what it looks like. So it's a free download, and it has everything that we have. And so we're just going to kind of go over it really quick. And boy, time flies. So you go to the Jesus Film app, and if you want to look at what's available, you hit the browse button. Once you hit the browse button, that'll take you to the main screen, which is the very next one. So that's got us looking down here at the short film and all of that. But Jesus Film app has so much more than short films. The Jesus Film app has our feature film, Jesus, that I talked about earlier, that's over 1,800 languages. But one of the things about the film Jesus that I mentioned earlier as well is it's got segments. And so the Jesus Film, which is a 2-hour movie, is broke up into 61 segments, little bite-sized chunks of the whole film, starting from in the beginning all the way to the Great Commission and everything in between, the birth of Jesus, all of that is in there, that if you wanted to, you could even do short Bible studies from it, or you could send the clips. So so we have the segment. So you don't just have to start conversations with the short films. You can also use the film Jesus and the short clips without having to show the full 2-hour movie. So you go into the, but for the short films, you go into the conversation starters and you see all of these films. There are, if you look at the thing, we show that we have 43 videos, short film videos. And many of those are in several languages. You see right there on the screen, Delight. If you were able to scroll down, or if you have your app open, you would see that you would see everything from Falling Plates to La Liberté, other films called Coffee Shop. It's just massive amount of themes. So, but let's say you wanted to, let's say you were going, we're still virtual. I keep thinking along the lines of being face-to-face. So you want to download a Delight. Right there where the circle is, it's got the little download image. And so you just click download and it will, it'll download to your device, whether your phone or your iPad, tablet, computer, whatever you wanted to download it to. And so, and then once it's downloaded, you've got the play button. A lot of this stuff for most of you, I'm sure probably all of you are tech savvy. A lot of this isn't new. So we're just going to kind of walk through this to help familiarize you with the buttons and the different features of this. So you just simply hit play and you're playing. So we'll go to the next screen, to what I talked about a little bit ago. We have the question feature. So for a virtual thing, you could just send these questions yourself. You can cut and paste them, or you could type them. You could send these questions and work it with the dialogue back and forth that way, and really begin a spiritual conversation. The next button is back to browse. So you go back to browse. You want to bring up the Jesus Film. You can click on the language portion or the clips, and there's the 61 segments available to you. And if you were to scroll down, if you could, you would see that every one of the 61 segments is right there available. And you can click on the language portion where it says English there. If you click on that, it will take you to every single language that we've dubbed for the film Jesus. And that goes, everything we do for the film is also the segment. So if we have some obscure, if we have Shawa or Ashaninka, Peruvian language, which we do, you could click on the 61 language or 61 segments, and it would come up in that language of Ashaninka. And so that download function works very well, where you could download any one of these. You could download them all, or you could pick through. Let's say you were going to, you have a friend in Peru, and you went to the Ashaninka, and you had 4 or 5 different themes you wanted to discuss. You could download those clips in that language. You could send them, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You could send them either through Messenger, Facebook, whatever. You could send that and begin a spiritual discussion that way. So, and there's on this screen, it's got that's the share button, and on the share button on the next screen, we'll show you the different ways you could. As an iPhone user, this looks very familiar to me, but I'm sure on Android, there's very similar on the share feature. It gives you the opportunity to send it to your friends, send it to your family, whoever you want to. And it's just a very, very easy function. And that's the one thing that that I just love about the Jesus Film app is it is so intuitive. It's so easy to use. Even if you didn't have this opportunity to have me share this with you, for most of you, you would get on it and figure it out. The next slide is the one we talked about earlier as we have spiritual discussions. That's our God Tools. And that's a brand new feature. It takes you back to God Tools, takes you, again, this one here, this screen has the 4 in it. And if anybody has used the 4, it's an amazing tool as well. It's basically a new, kind of a newer version of the 4 spiritual laws. And we had an opportunity to use that when we were at the Latin American Staff Conference in Rio a couple years ago, the first time I got to use it. And it's so effective. People relate to it. They relate to the little images, the heart and the separated image and all that. And so you have all of that right on your phone. And so I think that comes to the end of our slideshow. Oh no, it's not. I thought that was it. I apologize. This really is my favorite feature because it's very interactive. And I'm going to bring it up on my phone too. So on the map, go ahead and click on that. On the phone, there's a little, it's a map, and you click on it, and it brings you to every country in the world that we have languages, that we have media in that languages. And it is so much fun. This is one that, again, when we get back to being normal again, and we can ride in taxis and buses and be at the mall and be at the park. It's so much fun to be with somebody that you notice that they have an accent that you know isn't local, and you can ask them the question, "Where are you from?" And for instance, you've run into somebody and you find out they're from Chad. So you can click on Chad, and you can go to the next one too. And it's going to say probably India. Yeah. But let's do, I guess I could do India. There's India, and I kind of want to do a little live here. And you pop it up, just like it shows on there. It's 233 languages with media, and that's still current. That is a lot. So you click on that, and you find out that the person you're talking to, they speak Hindi. And Hindi, we have 31 media in that language. And so you could tell them, you could say, you know what, I have some video in your languages. And the reason why I'm not crazy about using India is because there's a lot of stuff in Hindi. There's movies and short films, there's commercial. I mean, they have TV, they got Hindi. But if you find somebody from a more obscure place where it's there's not as much media and stuff like that, and you could look to them and say, you know what, I have a video that is in your language. And so often I've heard it said, no, you don't. There's nothing in my language. And you click on that and you let them hear it and you just watch them light up, because there's nothing like heart language for reaching the heart of people. People resonate in their heart language. I know so many people who speak Spanish and who speak English, but at the same time, if you were to ask them, they would tell you that they are most comfortable in their heart language. They pray in their heart language. They preach in their heart language. They feel in their heart language. So to watch somebody watch a video in their own heart language that they're not used to seeing on video really, really lights up. So in this case, we click on Hindi and we find out that we have all this media. We have the Jesus film. We have the life of Jesus. We even have another film. It's actually not a film. It's a whole mini series called let me find it here, called Following Jesus India, that we've created specifically for India. That is a short film that is a discipleship tool. And so you can go there. You can show them Following Jesus India, show them Magdalena, show them Rivka. All of it's in Hindi, and it just opens up a world of media for them to be able to experience Christ and his truths. So let's go to the next. And that is the end of our slideshow presentation. And so I think we're going to open this up. We got about 15 minutes for question and answer. So if would love to hear your questions. I don't see anybody's put anything on the question and answer portion. Erica, hi.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chuck. I guess we'll give a couple minutes for people to write in a question or two they might have, but maybe, something mentioned in the chat earlier was just talking about themes and how, through sending a video and asking a question, how you can help someone draw out the themes of what God is doing in their life and connecting it into the film. Maybe you could share a little bit from your experience sharing the film with people, and just how that might look for them in starting a conversation. It could be through a text message and then being able to send a video and just following along that conversation. You probably have, more experience than you even think of, and as it relates to really just starting and continuing those conversations.
Right. No, that's good, Erica. I have, obviously, I have much more experience one-on-one and one-on a group live in person than I do virtually. But boy, I've had so much fun virtually too, just sharing clips and sharing short films and stuff like that. Facebook is one of my favorite things to share stuff on, and I've been able to have some great conversations with people that way. My favorite, I'll just share with you, my favorite video short film is called Flow. And I don't know if you've ever seen, if many of you have ever seen it, but it's on the app, and it's called Flow. And it's a video that has just this theme about where do you get your source? Where do you get your just what makes you function? And it's a video about a young man, kind of college age, who gets his water from the toilet bowl. And it sounds really gross, but it's so impactful because he's getting his water from the toilet bowl, and yet at the same time he's looking at the sink, the kitchen sink that has this pure, fresh, clean running water continually running at it in it, and he just looks at it like, what on earth is this? Why would I ever need that? I have all that I need right in my little toilet bowl. And so I used that one time with a teenager online, and I shared that film with him. And it's funny, he got it immediately. he didn't have much of a relationship with Christ. He kind of just went to church and kind of showed up. But in that conversation, I was able to help him see that really what you put in you affects what goes on inside of you, and where you get that source from matters. And in that conversation, I was able to explain to him that because it led us to a conversation about his friends and who he hangs around with, and what type of things that he does with his friends, and the type of TV that he watched, and all of that. And he was very honest with me, and he told me some of the shows that he watched and that him and his friends watched. And by the time we finished this conversation, I just made the blatant comment. I said, you realize that what you're putting inside of you is just like that toilet water. And yet at the same time, I see you at church. I see you walking in church with the pure, clean truth in front of you all the time. And yet you're walking past it and going home and getting your water from the toilet. And so that is such an impactful little video. And that is just one example of how you can take a short film and really make a difference in somebody's life.
That's great. We did have another question come up, just saying, can you provide an example of going from a film to your testimony, or just some hints on how to do that?
Yeah. One of my favorite stories, and really this is a non-virtual story, but this can happen online too. 2 years ago, we were helping lead a team to Guatemala, and we took we were doing a Jesus film premiere in the Hoyaba Quiche language, and it's a mountainous Quiche language, and we had just finished it, and they wanted us to. We were going to do a premiere in a brand new church that didn't have anybody in it. The pastor was still building it, and so we went into the mountains and we took an invitation. It looked like a movie ticket, and we went and we told them that we were going to do a movie in their language, and they had never seen anything in their language before. So we went door to door up in the mountains and showed people clips, and this is how we used clips, and you can do this online too to help open the doors. So we would say, we're going to be having the premiere of this film Wednesday at 3:00, but would you like to see a preview of it? Would you like to see a short clip? And so in the 2 days we did this, we showed the clips, and one of my favorite clips is the miraculous catch, Jesus catching the fish. And I wish I could show it to you, but there's this scene in the miraculous catch that really grabs you, because it's the moment when Peter goes from elation, just total excitement about catching all of these fish after he had fished all night and caught nothing. And Jesus shows up in the boat and they catch all this fish, and he looks up at Jesus and it dawns on him, this is not just a normal man, that I'm in the presence of God. And his face goes from elation to very stoic and very, serious. And that's when Jesus looked at Peter and said, and Peter looked at Jesus and he says, get away from me, Master. I'm a sinful man. And Jesus says, Peter, from now on, you're going to catch fish. And so to answer your question, when I would show this clip to people, and you could do this online, when I would show this clip to people, my first question is did you notice how Peter's face changed when he looked at Jesus? And that always elicits a conversation. And when we were in Guatemala, everybody would say, yes, I did notice. What was up with that? And I would say, because that's when Peter realized that he was in the presence of God, and compared to God, his sinfulness was just bright. It showed, and it brought him to a place of humility. And so you can have you can go from just watching that clip, just with a simple question. So did you notice this, or did you see that? Or it doesn't always have to be open-ended, like, how did you feel? but you can direct them and point them to. Both methods are amazing when you're using clips. You could say to them, so did you notice that? And then that starts a conversation. And then kind of the backstory to that, after when we got done after the 2 days, there were several teams, but my team alone in 2 days led 16 people to the Lord, prayed the prayer of salvation. And by the time we were all done with that week and we got people to that church, we had over 300 people at the Jesus Film premiere, and 25 more people gave their lives to Jesus. And it was all because we shared clips and short films and entered into conversations with people. So hope that answers your question.
Great. Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate that. Another question we have coming in from Bill says, I've never used the Jesus Film app before. What would you recommend as a next step for using this as a tool virtually to help connect someone in my world to Jesus?
Well, definitely. You can use the app. The share feature is your first step. But let me go back one. One of the things I would do, if you, especially since you say you've never used it, is the most important thing you could do is familiarize yourself with it. Download the app, watch short films, watch clips, see what's on there, experience what's available on the app, so that you can make a educated choice with the people that your audience. You need to know the material, and you need to know your audience. So my advice to you would be to learn the material, learn your audience, and then begin whatever your audience is. If they use Facebook, if they use Messenger, if they use any of the others, use the share feature, send it to them, and begin the spiritual conversation. I think the reason Lori and I did that little back and forth was to point out how you can use information that you already have with people. If you're sending a clip or a short film to your friends, and it's somebody that you know well, or that you have a history with, or you maybe have had conversations with, use that. Use what you know about them to help to promote and to continue the conversation. Maybe like in our little conversation, I had already asked her about God, and I already knew that she was turned off by religion. So I knew that Delight would be that perfect film for her, because Delight isn't about religion at all, is it? It's about relationship. And so I was able to show her that cute little short film about a father's love for a child. And so yeah, there is some work you need to do. There's homework you need to do. You need to know your audience. You need to know your material, and you need to work with what you've got in order to have the best impact.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, Chuck. Really just so grateful for you taking some time to spend with us and share about the Jesus Film. I'm really excited for us to watch some more of these short films and clips, maybe ask God for someone he wants us to be caring for in this time, in this season, and start a conversation with them by sending a video and asking some questions. And I actually just learned that there's a new film on the app called Breathe. So you all can feel free to check that out and see how you relate to it, and maybe try sharing it this week. Maybe God will bring someone to your mind, or someone you'll be seeing on social media, and be able to send them a quick text, ask how they're doing, and send a video, ask what they think. I know for me, watching Delight really reminds me of God's unconditional love and peace. And just as I was watching it, I think it reminded me of some friends that I think could really enjoy it in this season. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. You can also access the resources through our website on Indigenous through this QR code. You'll also be able to scroll down to the bottom of the page and give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Also, some next steps for you. Why not trust God with maybe 5 people this next week to share the link to a video with, and just see what God does. Again, you can check out our resource page, and also this workshop was hosted by Indigitus, which is a community of people around the world who are using technology and just digital connections to advance the mission of Jesus. So we want to invite you to join us on Facebook. You'll have access to more resources and encouraging stories and community, as well as being able to share your own. And so we also want to invite you to join us for the other 3 workshops on the following topics: having conversations about Jesus using the God Tools app, hosting a digital day of outreach, and then taking steps of faith in community. You're welcome to sign up for any of those other webinars, workshops, as well as if you enjoyed this workshop and you thought of a friend who you wish could have been here right now, well, there's another chance. Next week, we'll do this same workshop on Tuesday, April 21st from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can sign up on the website again, just where you did, indigitus.org/digital outreach. You can even send the link for your friend to join. So we just want to say thank you for joining us. We know God will use you as you take your next steps, and we hope to see you again. Goodbye.